Okay, so this KCI deck. KCI stands for Krark-Clan Ironworks. Once you have a KCI and a Scrap Trawler in play, the deck can win on the spot in like 1,000 different ways. Loop number 1. You have KCI, Scrap Trawler, and Mere Retriever in play. In your graveyard, there's a Mere Retriever and a 1-mana artifact. Could be anything. For this example, we're going to go with Chromatic Sphere. Sacrifice the Mere Retriever to Krark-Clan Ironworks. You get 2 mana and 2 dice triggers go on the stack. One for the Scrap Trawler and one for the Mere Retriever you just sacrificed. Bring back your 1-mana artifact with the Scrap Trawler trigger, and with the Mere Retriever trigger, bring back the other Mere Retriever that was already in the graveyard. Now cast the Chromatic Sphere and sacrifice it to the KCI. Now cast Mere Retriever. We're right back where we started, except now we're up 1 mana. This loop can be done indefinitely for 1,000,000 kajillion mana. So let's do that. Alright, great. What can this deck do with all this mana? Turns out the answer is a lot. If the 1-mana artifact is Terrarian or Chromatic Star, you net a mana and draw a card on each loop. If the 1-mana artifact is Chromatic Sphere, you can make a bunch of mana, and then once you have all that mana, you keep the loop going again. Only instead of sacrificing the sphere to KCI, you just activate it, making red mana every time. Every time you do that loop, you lose 2 colorless mana, but you draw a card and gain 1 red mana. Drawing a card's important because you're going to be digging for Pyrite Spellbomb. All the wins in this deck have to do primarily with Pyrite Spellbomb, and once you have enough colorless and red mana floating, you can kind of redo this loop but replace Chromatic Sphere with Pyrite Spellbomb. Sacrificing Mere Retriever to KCI gets you back Mere Retriever and Pyrite Spellbomb. Cast Pyrite Spellbomb. Activate it to deal 2 damage to your opponent. Now cast Mere Retriever. You're back where you started. Repeat this loop till your opponent loses. But maybe you're running low on cards in library and can't afford to draw a card for every red mana you make, and that is okay. If you draw enough cards, you should be able to assemble a board of KCI, Scrap Trawler, and Mere Retriever with a Mox Opal and a KCI in the graveyard. Sacrifice the Mere Retriever. The Mere Retriever and Scrap Trawler's dice triggers both go on the stack. With the Scrap Trawler's trigger, return the Mox Opal. With Mere Retriever's trigger, bring back the KCI. Cast the Mox Opal, tap it for a red mana, and then sacrifice it to the KCI. Now cast the KCI in your hand with the colorless mana. Now sacrifice it to itself. Scrap Trawler's trigger goes on the stack. Use it to return Mere Retriever to your hand. Cast Mere Retriever. You're right back where you started, only now you're up 1 red mana. Now you can do that a bunch of times for infinite mana, and you can use the many cantrip cards to rip through your deck, find the Pyrite Spellbomb, and win the game. This loop also works with a second Scrap Trawler instead of a second KCI. The 4 pieces that are locked in are 1 KCI, 1 Scrap Trawler, 1 Mere Retriever, and 1 Mox Opal. The 5th card just has to be expensive enough to be able to return Mere Retriever with the Scrap Trawler's dice trigger. At least 3 mana. This next loop takes advantage of a weird timing rule that kicks in when you cast a spell. Okay, you've got KCI, Scrap Trawler, Mere Retriever, and a 1-mana artifact on the battlefield. Let's just make it a Chromatic Sphere for the sake of simplicity. There's also a 1-mana artifact in your hand. Again, it's going to be Chromatic Sphere. Announce your intent to cast Chromatic Sphere. Technically, this is how the rules work. It's just that no one ever does this because generally you tap lands to cast your spells. It's pretty straightforward. You don't need to... not this time! Okay, so you're announcing your intent to cast Chromatic Sphere. Sacrifice Scrap Trawler, Mere Retriever, and the Chromatic Sphere on the battlefield to do so. Congratulations, you generated 6 mana to cast a 1-mana spell. You have to do it like this though, because the Scrap Trawler, the Mere Retriever, and the Chromatic Sphere all need to go to the graveyard simultaneously so they can all get each other back. Here's how that works. When the 3 artifacts die, 3 triggers go on the stack. 2 for Scrap Trawler, 1 for Mere Retriever. The Mere Retriever trigger gets back the Scrap Trawler. That one's easy enough, but there are also 2 Scrap Trawler triggers, 1 for itself and 1 for the Mere Retriever. Scrap Trawler costs more than Mere Retriever, and Mere Retriever costs more than the Chromatic Sphere, so you can get both of them back with the Scrap Trawler triggers. At this point, the other Chromatic Sphere resolves. With the 5 mana left, recast Scrap Trawler and Mere Retriever. You're exactly back to where you started. Nothing lost, nothing gained. The important thing here is that one of the 1-mana artifacts in this loop be either Chromatic Star or Terrarian so that you draw a card for each loop. We just used Chromatic Sphere as the example here so our poor graphics guy didn't have to also animate a card coming into our hand for every loop. The last combo! You've got a familiar cast of characters at this point. Scrap Trawler, Mere Retriever, KCI. You've also got Mox Opal and Chromatic Sphere or Star. Doesn't really matter which. Let's go Star this time. Sure. Tap Mox Opal for red. Or green, I suppose. It doesn't really matter. No, let's make it red. Announce your intent to pay cost for the Chromatic Star's ability. Sacrifice KCI, Mere Retriever, and Mox Opal. Lots of triggers will go on the stack. By now, you should know them pretty well. Use Mirror Retriever's trigger to get back KCI. Scrap Trawler's triggers allow you to get back the rest. KCI gets back Mirror Retriever gets back Chromatic Star, and Chromatic Star gets back the Mox Opal. Since you have 7 mana in your mana pool, replay all those cards. You're not up any mana, but you drew a card in that loop. The purpose of these last 2 loops aren't to win the game on the spot, but to draw your entire deck so that you can set up the winning loop. I get it. All these combos read like 5-card magical Christmas land nonsense until you remember that the deck has top-8'd 2 modern Grand Prix in a row. That's not a fluke. The power here comes from the deck's consistency. There are a ton of redundant pieces here. Everything either draws you cards, gets combo pieces back from the graveyard, or both. It's ridiculous. For example, imagine you're digging for a combo piece and you've got a Scrap Trawler in play. If you sacrifice a Mind Stone, you can get back one of the deck's plentiful 1-mana artifacts and use them to keep churning through your deck. Everything here seems like it's part of a loop that snowballs into another loop that wins the game. It's obnoxious. Plus, the deck gets free main deck access to one of Modern's best sideboard cards, Engineered Explosives. Boggles got you down? Engineered Explosives. Someone screwing around with Relic of Progenitus trying to keep you from looping? Engineered Explosives. Is there a ley line of sanctity keeping you from winning with Pyrite Spellbomb? Gah! Engineered Explosives, baby! Let's talk about this deck's resiliency. Stony Silence is definitely a real problem, but this deck's prepared in the form of Nature's Claim and Girapur Ether Grid. Nature's Claim destroys Stony Silence outright, and Girapur Ether Grid sidesteps all that by letting you cast a bunch of artifacts and use them to punch your opponent in the face. Remember, Stony Silence turns off artifact-activated abilities, and Girapur Ether Grid is an enchantment. Surgical Extraction on Pyrite Spellbomb is a potential disaster, but no fear, the deck can still generate infinite mana, and once you do that, you can loop Wormcoil Engines. That's right! This deck can loop a 6-mana creature that makes 2 3/3s when it dies. Just flood the board with those as many times as you need, and you'll be good to go. This deck is super complicated, but if this guide helped give you a better grasp on it, give us a like and subscribe. We drop deep dives like this all the time, so let us know which convoluted combo deck we should explain next, or just tell us a deck you like. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.